Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy. I am Morgan, and Happy New Year. I've been gone for a little while, but I am coming back to welcome 2024 with a bang. I have an amazing guest with me today. She is known as the Good Business Witch. Please welcome Megan Winkler.
Thank you so much, Morgan. I'm so excited to be here. And hey, everybody.
Yay. So we are going to jump right in. I wanted to do something fun for the beginning of the year. I love having you on the show. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this topic with me, because I think with you, it's going to be super fun.
Well, thank you. I love being on the show. And thank you again for inviting me again, because it's so much fun to chat with you and record these.
So we're going to talk about pop culture witches today. And that is, and more specifically, I think pop culture witches that maybe have actually had an influence on our path or things we do or how we do things.
I know, I cannot wait, because I really started thinking about my first exposure to a witch in pop culture.
Who was yours?
Definitely Samantha Stevens in Bewitched, and her mother just cracked me up. But I came from a very religious family background here in the South, and so witchcraft was always like a bad thing, but I was always like drawn to it. I don't know about you. And like I was always fascinated by it, and so I would be at my grandma's house during summer times for several years, like when my mom was working, and they always had like the back-to-back like reruns of like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched and some of the others. And I just fell in love with both Jeannie and Samantha. And I just thought she's just so cute, her little nose wiggle, and things just happen.
Yes. No, I definitely watched reruns of the I Dream of Jeannie with Bewitched with my mom on Nick at Night.
Yeah.
So yeah. I definitely did that. And then they came out, oh my God, it probably was years ago, with a whole series of Bewitched on DVD. It was like a box set. Yeah. So I did buy that. I think I started going through it. I don't know if I ever finished.
I don't know that that's an interesting thing. I don't know that it would have aged well for us, because if we watched it like as kids, it was very sweet and innocent show. And I love how, the snafus she got herself into were always so minor. And it was like, oh, Samantha, I can't believe you did that.
Did you know, I do love sharing this with people. So the daughter, Tabitha.
Yeah.
Did you know that there was a soap opera on in the early 2000s called Passions?
Remember Passions? Okay.
Okay. There was an old woman on that show named Tabitha who had the little ventriloquist doll that would come to life. Timmy, I think it's his name maybe, that came to life because she was a witch. That is supposed to be Samantha's daughter.
I had no idea. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
And that show, I don't know, like it was only on probably maybe 5 or 6 years, or at least I only watched it for that, because like at the time I think I worked nights, and I loved that. And it might have started in the late 90s, but
it was around that time. That I'll make us sound really old, that turn of the century time. Yeah.
But that show was ridiculous. I mean, yes. It was already a soap opera, but it had the supernatural aspect, because there was a girl, and I think her name was like Charity or something, who had supernatural powers. So she literally was always just like like doing that, like doing this head thing, like where it's like she had a migraine or something. I don't know. It was so ridiculous, but I loved it up until it got really ridiculous, and then I couldn't do it anymore.
Couldn't do
Um,
it.
but yes, the Tabitha on that show, who was an old woman who was a witch, was
That's
supposedly
funny.
Tabitha, and that's the storyline. Like
Yeah.
they wrote it like that.
Wow, I had no idea. That is so funny.
So now listeners are going to be like, Passions, what is this?
I
Like,
know. Like,
I
what is
don't know
this
if you
show?
could even get it. It was bad. Like,
It was really not good.
yeah.
So who was your first encounter with a pop culture witch? Was it Samantha or somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, growing up, I watched the I Dream of Jeannie and the Samantha, but I think the reality of witchcraft, like as being possibly a real thing, hit me with the Craft movie.
Mm-hmm.
So late
Yeah.
90s, because I think that came out in like 96, 95, 96, 97, somewhere in there. Um, and it was the first time I was a teenager, just to kind of show my age. I was really struggling at school as far as my peers. I was different. And so like when that movie came out, there was something about it. Like I was like, is this real? Like if this
Right.
is real, I'm in. Where do I sign up?
Yeah. 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 I love that. Well, see, and I didn't see The Craft until I was an adult, actually, because again, that kind of strict household, like I just wasn't really exposed to that. But once I saw it like as an adult, I was like, wow, this feels like an awakening film for so like a whole generation of witches.
Yes.
And it sounds like it was for you. That's amazing.
Yes. No, it definitely was. And I don't quite remember the exact timeline as far as like when I first saw the movie to where the bullying at my high school got really bad for me. And basically, like long story short, I was called a witch. And in the South, in the late 90s, that was horrible.
Yes.
Like it was
Yeah.
a derogatory term. It was like, oh my God, Morgan's a witch.
Yeah.
Everyone stay away from her. It was like having leprosy or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a witch,
Yeah.
but somewhere like that all kind of meld together in my memories.
Yeah.
And that's when I, being the smartass that I am, was like, if you're going to call me a witch, then I'm going to be a witch. Now, how do I do that?
I love it.
And so I picked up Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham was like the first book. And even though I'm not Wiccan, reading that book, finally, like I had so many questions as a teenager, that I tried asking parents, friends, like, and no one had answers for me. I think one of the biggest ones for me too was, why is there a God, but there's no goddess?
Right. Yeah.
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 So Wicca explained that for me. They gave me the male and the female and the divine balance of all the things in the world and all of that. And then, after reading that book, I realized how much of the craft like wasn't real,
Right. Right. I
For the
love
most
that.
part.
And I think it's real. And correct me if you've heard something different, but I have heard that on The Craft, they actually had some witches that were consulted on it to make sure it like looked real, but wasn't real on accident, which I think is such a good, safe way to go about a pop culture witch story
Mhm.
because you don't want to accidentally get into something that, your actors and your crew are not prepared for.
No, they did. They had a Wiccan high priestess.
That's cool. That's cool.
So
I
yeah.
thought
So
that was true. I'm glad it's true.
it is. Yeah. So I think that's what, like, once I was able to differentiate what wasn't real. And I mean, I don't mean the stuff like Nancy walking on the water, like I got
Right.
that. I know that's
Right.
Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even the like I was questioning, they have their supreme kind of being is called Menon. And I'm like, is that the thing? And I'm like, no, that's not a thing. That was created for Hollywood as well.
Right. Right.
Um, but the actual rituals, I mean, they used the tools correctly. I mean, all of that
Yeah.
was
The
sound.
calling to the elements and all
Yep.
that. Yeah. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I
So
think that's what I love too about practical magic is, they form this circle, right? The broom circle and all that. And oh, I just love stuff like that.
Yeah, that's where I think for me, practical magic was where the stereotype of witches, like what we're supposed to look like or what we're supposed to do, I think that movie, the book, shattered it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes. Yeah. And see, that was the one because it was a safe, like Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman movie. That was the one that was my big influence as to like what witchcraft really was. And oh my gosh, I still want to be Sally with my little like body wellness herb shop. And yeah.
Yes. No,
But I love that, like everything about that, with the exception of the floating down from the roof at the top, like it's all pretty much like, okay, they cast a spell, and yes, the necromancy part is very Hollywood,
yeah.
but they're brewing teas, and it's like, Jillian and the little girls have like stuff in the syrup to make him want to go away and stuff. It's like, well, yeah, we can do stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Have you ever read the book?
Yes, I've read the whole series.
I can't. The
So
book was
good.
okay for me. It
Yeah,
was, I actually like the Hollywood twist that they put in the movie.
me too.
Um, but the book was very grounded. The book was
It was.
very like real magic.
Yes. Yeah.
So I liked that aspect, but I have to say I do like the movie. Normally the book is better than the movie. That was one instance where for me the movie was better than the book.
I agree. And the book was still really fantastic,
Yeah.
but that movie was just awesome. No, I really suggest reading the whole series because she went and did like prequels and then sequels. And it's just fantastic because you get like the origin story and all that. And it's really good. But yeah, I like the twists they had in the movie.
Yeah.
It makes for a better story, I think.
And then so we're actually kind of moving in chronological order, I think,
I
as
think
far
so.
because I am definitely 100% an original Charmed person.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
I watched it. I had to catch up. I didn't really know it was a thing, so like I had to catch up. And then by the last probably 2 seasons, I was watching it weekly.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but I think that was actually a time in my life. I want to say I was probably I was married and I was out of the household. I was out of that small town and I knew I was a witch. I just knew it, but I didn't really know. We just still didn't have internet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's books you can get at the bookstore and that's what you can do.
Right.
You can't even really find people. This was like late 90s, early 2000s. You can't even find people to like ask questions about because again, no internet.
Exactly. I know. I mean, I am so thankful that like witches that are just kind of coming into their own today have all of these resources, have all the podcasts, have all the websites, all that. But yeah, I started watching Charmed, the original Charmed. Thank you very much. I have not even watched the remake because I have heard so many people I trust, such as yourself, say just don't even waste your time. But yeah, I started watching that actually when I was a military spouse and I was over in Japan and we had limited channels and it was like WB was one of them. So I was watching like all the reruns and all that. And I so wanted Piper's abilities. I
Yeah.
wanted to freeze time. Like she was it. I think Holly Marie Combs is so cool. And I just wanted like all of those powers,
Yes.
you know.
No, she was my favorite as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just kind of it's so funny to me though, because you were talking about earlier, it's like, it's like on Passions, she'd like hold her head and like scrunch up her face like she's got a migraine. And it's like there's so many times where it felt like even in Charms, like, why is magic painful? Why does this hurt? Why does this like take so much brain power and concentration that your head is gonna explode? Like, what
Yeah.
is with that? It's just so funny to me that became like a thing, a trope.
Which I think is like Prue's character, Shannon Doherty's character, she started out doing something big, like first season when she first got hurt, but then it just went to, did she blink? Was that what she did?
Yes.
Like she just
Yeah.
blinked and like moved shit or something, I think, or she kind of like almost genied it. Like
Almost genied it. Yeah.
yeah. But I love that even Piper, if you rewatch Charmed throughout the series, at the end, she's just like
Yep.
that's it.
Yes.
And like
Yes.
blowing shit up. Like
Yeah.
that's all.
And
Just
like
like
I've even seen it like just like a little like
yeah,
like finger pointing. It's like, okay, cool.
nothing huge. And that's what I did love about that. It's just the transition to like, we're not going to put a lot into this magic is easy here. Let me just flick a wrist and I'll blow a demon up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It was a struggle in
Which
the beginning though.
right, which I think is like a good progression, right? Because it's like when you're new at something, it's really hard. And I don't know about you, like, but on my witchcraft journey, it's like when I first started, it's like, okay, I've got to write out a spell and I've got to make sure I have all the right ingredients. And am I doing this right? And now I'm just like, okay, what color candle do I have? Okay, what can I got some rosemary, just light that sucker with an intention and it's good to go. And, I think that Charm did a really good job of kind of paralleling that progression from newbie witch trying to figure things out to somebody that does it every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah. I do, as far as Charmed influencing my own personal witchcraft, I love making spells rhyme because of Charmed.
Yes, I know, they're so much fun.
Yeah, so that is, and I think if I remember correctly, like Phoebe was the spell writer because at first they gave her really shitty powers. So they were like, you go ahead and be the spell writer.
Right.
Yeah. And then she got, the empath or whatever, like she progressed as the storyline went on. But
Yeah,
I
it's
love
almost like
making spells
she
right.
didn't have, I think she didn't have powers at first, right?
Yeah.
It was just like Prue and Piper, and she was like, I'm all left out, and blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. It's like, and then
Yeah.
she can like freaking fly by the end or something.
I don't remember. Like it's been a long normally I used to rewatch it. Well, when I had cable,
Right.
TBS put them and Supernatural reruns
Oh,
back to back
nice.
mornings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would watch Charmed all morning while I was getting ready for work or something.
Yep.
So I mean, we cut the cord on cable forever ago. So I don't like I still have all the box sets too of Charmed.
That's awesome. But that takes effort. You have to like sit down and like actually watch them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it.
So I think for me, another one too, and no, you know what? I'm proud to say it. I
Yeah.
fucking love The Good Witch. Okay.
Oh, The Good Witch is so cute. I haven't seen the whole thing. I think I watched like the first season, and it's just so precious.
Yeah.
She is just darling. I love her.
That I love Cassie Nightingale. I think at the beginning, because like it's movies, and then they moved into the TV show.
Oh, so I've just seen the TV show. I haven't seen the
Oh
movies.
yeah, there's
I gotta go
like
watch the movies. Okay.
there's so many movies. That's how it started. It was a movie
Okay.
every Halloween on Hallmark.
Oh, how fun. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Um, I think my favorite thing, which also then turned into my least favorite thing, just watching so many seasons and having watched, is almost how like she had that sixth sense. That was the thing about Cassie Nightingale was like, I think every witch wants just that intuition and that trust in everything's going to work out.
Yeah.
That flow that she had, that trust, like somebody could walk into the room behind her and she would be like, hey Sam, and like without even turning around. And that was my favorite thing at the beginning. And then towards the end, I'm like, we all know who's coming in the room, Cassie.
Right.
Come on.
Right. We get it.
But I loved that she had a store, of course, and I love that her store was a little bit mainstream, but then if somebody came to her and needed some help with something, she was like, oh, here's a little oil, wear it, here's this, you know, carry it around with you. And I was like, that is amazing.
That. I
Yeah.
love that. That kind of reminds me of Fiji in Midnight Texas. I don't know if you ever read those books
No.
or watched the show. So I saw the show and then I went back and read the books, and it's a series of 3 books by Charlene Harris, who did True Blood. Also, highly recommend all the True Blood books. I've read like all 10 of them. They're, if you're bothered by, all of the intimate scenes on the HBO channel, they're not in the book. So they're, I know some people have avoided that for that reason. But yeah, Midnight Texas, Fiji is like super cool. She comes from this long line of witches. They're out in the middle of like West Texas. And in this town, they have like the preacher is also a werewolf. There's a couple, there's an angel and a demon who are together. They're in a same-sex relationship. So that like they deal with like human judgment, but then also like they're from opposite sides of the spectrum. But she is just so cute. She's got her little house that's also the shop in the front. And like she does like tinctures and teas and crystals and readings and all that. And then it's like you kind of see her grow with the rest of the cast, that like as they come in to like get to know each other better, and she starts interacting with one of the main characters who's a medium and whose grandma like literally pops into the room all the time from the spirit plane. You see her grow, and she's like super powerful and had no idea, and is like affecting weather and all this stuff. But it feels very grounded, and like I love the possibility there, that it's like, yeah, you could have like a little witch shop, or you could like offer readings and stuff, and you never know the potential of your power. And so
Yeah.
she's just a fun one.
This was a
It's like
TV show?
it was. They did it for 2 seasons and it got canceled. And
Never heard
the
of it.
yeah, the first two, like the first season goes with the first book, the second season goes with the second book. And it follows the books pretty well. But it's really fun to watch. There's like a vampire in town and a hitman, and they're somehow together, and just all kinds of funny pairings and friendships.
Do you know where I could, if this is possible to watch now?
I'm sure it probably is, like probably on Amazon or Hulu,
It's
because it
called
was like
Midnight. What?
Midnight Texas, because
Never
that's the
heard of
name
it.
of the town. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
No, that
I
sounds
love
like a
it.
lot of fun.
Yeah, just it didn't get finished. It's kind of like watching Firefly. You have to go into it knowing that they didn't get to resolve things at the end of, well, this season 2 in this case.
Yeah, that's what happened with nope. The name just left me. It wasn't Mayfair Witches and it wasn't Discovery of Witches, but it was the one that Jenna Dewan was on.
Oh yeah, what was that?
I read those books, loved it, loved that they came out with the TV show, and I think it lasted one, maybe 2 seasons, and I was devastated because they left it on a cliffhanger, and then it's like it
Yeah.
was canceled, and I was like,
I hate that. I hate
yeah,
that. They did that, not so much witch, but definitely supernatural. They did that with the Constantine series, the TV series. They did it for like 1 season, and it was so good. And then they're like, they left it on a cliffhanger and they just canceled it because nobody was watching it. I'm like, I was watching it. Put it back on the air. Stop that.
yeah.
It's so funny. But you mentioned Discovery of Witches, and that was a book that I struggled to read,
I
but
still
I
haven't been
watched.
able to.
I can't do it. But the first season, I watched that recently. It was really good. And I liked the academic and the science blend into witchcraft. And that, like, I just watched it like this year or last year. So
I'm gonna have to
just,
try it again. I've tried to read the book 17 times. It's never worked. I
well,
find
yeah,
it
because
super
she's always
dry.
sitting in the damn library. It's like,
Yeah, it's
do something.
so dry and so long.
I
So
know.
I tried the TV show. I think I got through 4 episodes, and at the time it was only on a weird channel like to stream. Now
Yeah,
I think it's on Max or Hulu, or it's on
thanks
something
for Max.
mainstream now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um I couldn't do that. I have also not done the Mayfair Witches.
I have not yet. Me either. I've read the books.
I couldn't read those either. I'm so the
They're
witching
heavy.
hour was so long. Like I can't.
It is so long. It is so heavy. It's good, but it's like that thing is this thick.
No, it is.
It's
And don't get
huge.
me wrong, I like a good chunky book. Like I'm a bookworm. I will read it, but you've got to hold my attention. You got to have something going on every chapter. I couldn't but it was renewed. So
Oh, cool.
that was another thing. I'm not a fan of starting a show that I think I'm going to fall in love with and then having somebody cancel it. So I think I wait to see if there's going to be another season of something and then like
Right.
I'll go ahead and jump in.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I know that's next on my list to watch. I actually got the AMC Plus subscription to like actually sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
So I love it.
I don't know if I have, like, I watched Sabrina growing up and then I rewatched Sabrina, the original with Melissa Joan Hart, the cheesy one.
Yes. The
Yeah.
cheesy one, the cute one. Yeah. I think we were teenagers when it was out too.
And then I rewatched it with my daughter when she was a teenager, just as something, but I don't know, like that one was just straight up cheese. And
yeah. Well, it's like The Owl House. We recently watched The Owl House on Disney, and it's a cute kids show, and it's got a really good plot. Like it's one of those Disney like series where it's like adults are entertained as well, but you don't look for any inspiration there, not necessarily. So,
no.
but it's so cute. I love they have stuff like that for kids too.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of them. I actually started, I think they turned was it The Wayward Witch was a children's book series. I think they turned that into a series somewhere along the line.
Cool.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think they were made popular by, Harry Potter and all of that, but I think some of the ones that are out now do have a little bit more grounding in reality.
Yeah. Which is really cool.
Harry Potter. Yeah.
Or like Witches of Waverly Place, I think was a little more Harry Potter,
Yeah, I like
your
that.
little wand. I know. It's so
my kids and I love that show.
It's so cute. It's so cute. I love it so much.
And then we had a lovely treat. I feel like we adult witches had a lovely treat with American Horror Story Coven.
Oh, see, I have thoughts on that one.
You not like it?
So I watched the first episode and I could not deal with it after that. I was like, nope, done. So here's the backstory. I know. For those that are not watching on YouTube, Morgan's face. Because we've never talked about this before. Yeah, so as you know, I love New Orleans. I am big into New Orleans history and all that. And that first episode opened with all the stuff that happened at the LaLaurie Mansion.
Yeah.
And like I knew all the history of that and everything. And I was just like, I can't sit here and watch something that's like a fictionalized version of that.
Yeah.
Because I have stood at, have you been to the LaLaurie Mansion? Or
no, I haven't.
Yeah. So if you stand and I'm saying you stand at the foot of that mansion, and I really it's only 3 stories. It's not much taller than anything else in the French Quarter, but you stand at the foot of that mansion and you can just feel the energy and feel the intensity and feel the sadness. And so you start learning about everything. So then that was what they opened up with. And I was like, okay, I'm going to see if I can go through this. And I just couldn't shake some of those images. So I just stopped watching it. I was like, nope, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people, and it's love it. And it's fun to see clips of it. So I've definitely have seen the pictures of the mansion and some of shorter clips on YouTube and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's that coffee shop that I went to one time. Or, oh, that's such and such's, house, blah, blah, blah. So it's really fun to see that. But for me, I was just like, oh, I had a hard time with that.
Yeah. No, I could see that. I've never been to New Orleans. I've never been to, so I don't, yeah. And I knew that there was probably a lot of fiction. I mean, there's of course a lot of fiction that goes into a lot of these.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the only seasons, with the exception of the first season. The first and the third seasons of American Horror Story are the only 2 I've ever sat through.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. And then I hear that the coven pops up in later
Oh,
seasons too.
interesting. Yeah.
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 I just think I liked, and I don't know, like even while I was watching it, I will tell you now, there's not a lot of basis in reality on witchcraft at all in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's what I've
think it's
heard.
more it's the vibes
Yeah.
that are really, to me, the vibes were really cool. It was that show empowered witches.
Yeah.
I feel like so it kind of took us from like hiding in the shadows maybe to little bit more mainstream, but like almost a little bit like, yeah, we can fuck shit up. So
Yeah.
just keep that in the back of your head.
Exactly. No, I love the scene where like they're walking through the streets in the quarter and they're all like in their black and everything. And it's just like, yes, queens, go do your thing.
Yeah.
So, and I love and I do love like the community aspect of it, right? And it kind of makes me think back to, like I was saying, like the end of Practical Magic, where it's like I've got chills. You get a bunch of women together supporting each other and empowering each other, and it's just literal magic happens. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah. And
Love
did you
it.
ever do Charmed went into Supernatural, which just ended a few years ago because there's like 72 seasons. Did you ever do Supernatural or
I
no?
started watching Supernatural and I got busy. Life, life got in the way. But did Charmed segue into
It did.
Supernatural?
Well, no, so not from a story
Oh,
standpoint.
okay.
Took
Okay.
the Charmed. It was like they moved Charmed up an hour on like
Got
Thursday or Friday nights and then plugged Supernatural into the old Charmed time slot so that hoping that people that watch Charmed would then watch Supernatural. And I was people. I totally
Yeah.
100% made that
Yeah.
transition
Yeah.
into Supernatural. But then we stopped watching it a few years ago, and we still haven't finished it. But um, I don't know, they touch on witches. All witches are bad in Supernatural, and they all hex and curse, and that's all they do.
That's so funny. Like, no, that is not what happens. But
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So and then of course, Supernatural, for those listening, they are famous for saying Sam Hain for Samhain, and Sam Hain is a god, is like the god of Halloween time or something, or he's like it's not a demon, but yes. So Sam Hain is a person, and I'm just like, oh my God, you guys, okay, could you also employ a high priestess, please, to just help out a little bit?
Yeah. See also the Vampire Diaries and especially the originals. And I know that's a series you didn't watch, right?
I
Or
did not watch that
that's
one.
right. We've talked about this before. And yeah, the witches are like, it's a lot like in Charmed when they are scrying and like the pendulum goes like immediately to the place.
Yes.
Well, they can do like ashes or like dirt from the ground and it'll do the same thing. It'll like pinpoint to things on a map. And they like enchant daylight rings for the vampires that are in the story. So they have to be sterling silver and with a lapis lazuli stone. But then they cast a spell on it. And then the vampires, as long as they're wearing this piece of jewelry, they can be out in the sun. Otherwise, they, go the way of all vampires in the sun, right? Um, but it's entertaining, but it's so silly.
Yeah.
It's just like there's nothing here. And of course, like there's like the good witches and the bad
Yep.
witches always hexing and awful and somehow possessing people's bodies,
Oh my
which I
God,
think
if we
I
could,
know,
that would be
right?
great.
Right? So I feel like we started this conversation off as like these really inspired me and then like went to, yeah, this is just crazy.
Yeah, it's
Like it doesn't happen.
entertaining, but please, like new witches, there is no
There's
evidence
no
there's
truth.
no grounded reality in witchcraft in a lot of the shows
Yeah.
that come out now.
Yeah.
They are purely Hollywood.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I believe, and I think you do as well, that you can enchant and put energy into a piece of jewelry for protective reasons or attracting reasons, whatever. It's not going to protect you from getting hit by a car or something, whatever the equivalent would be to stepping out in the sun as a vampire. Like
Yeah.
one of my witchy friends was like, okay, you're wearing an evil eye, but please don't go stand on a train track because it's not going to protect you from that. And that's
Yeah.
what these TV shows are about. They're like, no, I've got all this power and I can just stop whatever this crazy, you know, 5,000 ton thing coming at me is.
Yep.
And it's just not the case.
No.
So funny. So funny.
All
But I'm so
right.
glad that there's more stuff out there for us, you know?
There's so many shows, even like Netflix has a few like that aren't in English. So like there's Netflix shows from other countries that
Yeah.
are, doing witchcraft, and then um uh, Amazon Prime has kind of touched on it with some of their shows. Like there's witches in them. They're not great, but there's something for everyone, I think. If
There
you want to
is.
just be entertained with a witchy genre, there's
Mhm.
definitely a lot out there. If you want to have some inspiration or maybe be like, oh, that's kind of cool, I think I'd like to try that, I think you have to go for the older ones.
Yeah, I think so. Because
Yeah.
now we expect a lot of special effects in our media.
Yes.
And so that's when you get the flying and the zaps and the earthquakes and all the stuff. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I
for
agree.
sure. Yeah. Go back to the craft in the first
Yes.
charm. For sure.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Course.
This
Thank you
was
again.
fun.
I
Yeah.
know, it's so much fun. I love
So
it.
tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at meganwinkler.com, or you can type in goodbusinesswitch.com. It'll take you the same place. And I am on Instagram at the Good Business Witch. And Morgan and I follow each other. So I should be pretty easy to find. And that's the best place to hang out with me. So come by and say hi.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you again for joining me. And to my listeners, there'll be more consistency in 2024. I promise. We have to get through the gem show, though. Let me get through the gem show in January, beginning of February, and then there will be more consistency. But thank you for being here and for giving me a platform to have amazing guests like Megan on here, and for listening. So thank you, and I will see everyone later. Bye. If you're looking for a magical community where you can just be yourself, check out my Ink Spirit Coven. The Coven is an online learning circle for eclectic witches who want to learn new witchcraft practices and how to easily incorporate magic into their daily lives, all while being supported on their personal spiritual journey. And you'll have me as your magical mentor, sharing my knowledge, answering questions, and facilitating the online community. Head to inkspirit.com to learn more and join. And if unique witchcraft supplies made by witches for witches is just what you need, head to my store, inkgoddesscreations.com, to see what we have to enhance your magical practice. We also have the Ink Goddess Creations box, a monthly subscription of magic mail filled with exclusive items that fit a magical theme. Head to the site to see this month's theme and sneak peeks.